All right, today we're going to continue surface area. We're going to do pyramids and cones, and they're grouped into this lesson because they come to a pretty little point. And they only have one base, right? So let's go through some vocab here. So first things first, let's talk about a vertex. My definition of this is it's the top where the sides all meet. It's kind of like a point at the top, okay? So it's the top where the sides all meet. So looking at this picture over here, that right there would be your vertex. That's your vertex right there. So let's talk about the base. So the base of our pyramid is going to be on the opposite side from our vertex, okay? So if our vertex is here, our base is on the other side. So it's opposite from your vertex. Opposite from your vertex is going to be your base. So in this picture right there is my base. I'm going to erase that, but I just wanted to kind of show you right there is the base. Lateral faces. So lateral faces are the sides, and lateral faces will not include the base. That's what lateral means. Lateral means it's going to be the sides. So in this case, look at this pyramid here. If we lay out the sides, look what they look like. They look like triangles, right? So it would make sense here, since the formula for a triangle is half times base times height. It would be half times base, and if I add this up, this is 4s, right? So half times 4s times L, which is our height here. So let's talk about lateral faces a little bit. So these are all triangles. Okay, they're all triangles. And the number of the triangles depends on the base. All right, so the number of them depends on your base. Okay, if your base is a pentagon, there'll be 5 triangles for your lateral faces. If your base is a square, there will be 4 triangles for your lateral faces. Let's talk about slant height. So I've kind of alluded to this in class a little bit, but the slant height's right here in this picture. Now, beware. If we're looking at the pyramid, notice that it's on the side of the pyramid, and the pyramid here is slanted, right? So that's why it's called a slant height. It's not the actual height. I'm going to write the actual height in black here. The actual height would come right down the center of this pyramid and be perpendicular to the base. That is the height. However, the slant height runs along the outside of the pyramid and it slants up to the vertex. Okay? So for slant height here, what I usually say, it's from your base edge to your vertex. Okay, it's not inside, it's not in the center. And if I lay this pyramid out, right here is that slant height, right there. Now, the altitude, which used to just be called the height, okay, that goes from the center of the base to the vertex. Center of the base to the vertex. So I just talked about that over here. So vertex to the center of the base. Here's my base, right? That's my base. So center of the base to the vertex, that is going to be your actual altitude or your height. All right, so just don't get it mixed up. Slant height and altitude are 2 different things in these problems. So we're going to take the surface area of this pyramid, and there is a nice little formula. So to find the lateral height, 1/2 P times L, and you're probably like, what is that? Where did that even come from? Well, these are triangles, right? And remember I said that the area of a triangle is half times base times height. So half times base, but you're like, hold up, that base is a P. Well, that P comes from here. The base of all these triangles would be the perimeter right there of this base, right? So the bottoms of all these triangles would be the perimeter of the base of the pyramid. So times perimeter and times height. But wait, why did they use an L? Well, they use an L because this isn't the actual height. It's a slant height. It's the height of the triangle, but the slant height of the pyramid. Okay, I know that can get confusing. So we have lateral area and then surface area. This should be really familiar. When we had prisms, it was lateral area, which are the sides, plus 2 bases, because all prisms have 2 bases. But now we only have 1 base. So it's lateral area plus the one base. So let's go ahead and try out an example. Let's look at number 1. Find each of the following: the base, the lateral area, and the surface area. So first we're going to focus on the base. Now they don't tell you this, but I will tell you that this is a square. I should have been better about that and told you that to begin with. So this is a square, and since it's a square, it's going to be 15 times 15, base times height, or side squared. So that's going to give us 225 feet squared. So there's our base right there. Boom. The next thing we have to find is lateral area. Well, let's use our formula. 1/2, which by the way, some of you are really uncomfortable with like a 1/2. So you know what? Because some of you are uncomfortable with it, I'm just going to use 0.5. You know, just use 0.5 if that makes it better for you. Just use that, okay? So for this one, we're going to have 0.5 times perimeter times slant height. Well, what's the perimeter? They don't tell you, do they? You have to find that. So let's break off here and find our perimeter. 15 plus 15 plus 15 plus 15. And the quicker way of doing that would be 15 times 4. Okay? But I'm going to write it the long way. So 15, and you add it up 4 times, that perimeter is going to end up being 60. Okay, so now we know our perimeter here is 60. Bring down my 0.5. What's the slant height? Here he is. See how he slanted right up to the vertex, base edge to the vertex? It's going to be 12. So then the next thing I would do is just type all 3 of those things into my calculator, 0.5 times 60 times 12, and I get 360 feet square. There's your lateral area. The next thing that they asked you to solve for is surface area. Well, going back up here, they said surface area is lateral area plus the base. Luckily, we already have those 2 things. So if it's lateral area plus the base, then our surface area is 360 plus a base of 225. We just found those right here. Add those up, and then our surface area is going to be 585 feet square. Okay, so I would like you to do number 2 for when you come to class tomorrow, but I am actually going to talk about 3 with you because it's a little tougher than 2. So you don't have to do number 3 unless you really want to, but definitely you have to have number 2 done for class. All right? So we're going to move it on to the next page here. So we're going to talk about some cones here. So it comes to like a point, right? So a cone has a circular base, right? Right here is the circular base. And remember that the area of a circle is pi r squared. Just don't forget. The vertex is the point at the top. And I actually don't know why it says that. So I say vertex. So this little point up here is the vertex. And I call it the point at the top. Okay, so it's the point at the top. It's opposite from your base, right? Here's your base, it's that circle, and then opposite from that is the vertex. So opposite from base. There we go. The axis is also your altitude, okay? Or you can call it the height. There's just so many different names for this. All these work for it. And notice that it's in the center of your cone. It makes a difference because look, the slant height's on the side. So be careful. This is the center of the base to the vertex. Okay, center of the base all the way up to the vertex like that. And then the last thing we talk about is slant height. So this goes from your edge of your base up to your vertex. So edge of base to vertex. Okay? By the way, if you can't find the slant height, sometimes you're going to have to use the Pythagorean theorem. Just sometimes. Sometimes they tell you what it is. Other times you're going to have to use the Pythagorean theorem. Okay? Sometimes this is going to come into play. Sometimes. By the way, this down here is called a net. If I actually undid my cone, this is what it would look like. There's the base, and then this is what goes on the outside of it, all nice and flattened out. I'm not going to get too into where they come up with these formulas for lateral area of a cone. I know I do that with the other things, but I'm just going to skip it a little bit with the circles because it gets a little technical. So just know that your lateral area is pi RL, so that would be the area of your sides there. And look, your surface area is the same. lateral area plus 1 base because cones only have 1 base. So let's go ahead and look at one of these down here. I'm going to look at number 4. So on number 4, they said find the area of the base. Well, the base is a circle. The area of a circle is pi r squared. So in our case, this is going to be pi times 8 squared. And now it does say round to the nearest whole number. So we're going to make sure that we do that here. So this is going to be 3.14 times 64. Now if you do 3.14 times 64 and you round that to the nearest whole number, this 9 will bump that up to a 1. So this will be 201 inches square for your base. Now that we have that, let's do lateral area, and we have the formula up here. Lateral area is pi times radius times slant height. Well, so then that's going to be 3.14 times 8 times, what is my slant height? Oh my gosh, they don't have it. It's right here. What do we use? What did I say we use for slant height if we don't have it? Pythagorean theorem. So there's A, B, and C. So let's use our Pythagorean theorem here. A squared plus B squared equals C squared. Okay? So then we have 15 squared plus 8 squared equals C squared. And then we work that out. 15 squared is 225. 8 squared is 64 equals C squared. And then we type 225 plus 64 into the calculator and we get 289 equals C squared. How do you undo a square? Take the square root. So if we take the square root of 289, we'll end up getting 17. Woo! All that work, just so we know the slant height. So this is your slant height right here. Your L, if you want to call it your L. So this is going to be 17 in our formula. So then once we multiply all that together into the calculator, 3.14 times 8 times 17. 427.04, and we want to round. So let's just say 427. So lateral area is 427 inches square. There we go. And last but not least, surface area is lateral area plus the base. So surface area is lateral area plus your base. Well, we know that our lateral area is 427, and we found that our base is 201. So if we add 427 and 201 together on our calculator, our surface area is 628 inches square. There is our surface area. What I would like you guys to do is try number 5 on your own tonight. Go ahead and try number 5, and I'll go over 6 in class, okay? So just do number 5, and then up here, make sure you do number 2. Remember, you can always rewind and rewatch these videos, so everything's at your own pace. You could always watch it through the first time, and then not write anything down, and then watch it a second time and write stuff down. Whatever you need to do, to understand, make sure that you're doing that with these videos. All right, guys, I'll see you in class. Make sure you have those 2 done. Bye-bye.